Welcome to the Help Her Be Brave podcast show, where we have great ideas on how we can help save lives. I'm Amy Ford.
And I'm Jessica Russo.
And today we're going to be talking with Victoria of Save the Storks. They're such an awesome organization, and I've really gotten to know them over the last year or two and spending time with them. And I love, they're always like, how can we help you? And how can we promote what you're doing? And how can we connect girls to you? And sometimes they even have girls reach out that just found out they're pregnant. So we're getting love boxes to some of the followers that they have. They have a pretty big social media following, so they have a lot of people that connect that might be in an unexpected pregnancy, but they're always just so how can we help you, how can we serve you, so amazing. But what they are doing is creative and innovative in the pro-life movement with these really cool mobile units that are sonogram machines that basically on wheels, and they look really good, and they go to where the girls are. But we're going to talk more about that with Victoria. Victoria, are you there?
Hi, ladies. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so I just love Save the Storks, and I think I go out to Colorado a couple times a year and always come visit the team, and everyone always is so helpful and always wanting to even help embrace grace. I love how y'all are so kingdom focused and bring unity into the pro-life movement, and just y'all are so awesome, and I can't wait for all of our listeners to hear all about what you guys do. But I would love for you to just start with your story and your why. Like, why are you passionate about being involved in the pro-life movement?
Well, unfortunately for me, the reason that I am passionate about it is because over 30 years ago, I made the regretful decision to choose abortion. I was a single mother with two little girls that were only 9 months old and 3 years old when my husband at the time decided he did not want to be married anymore. We lived in North Carolina at the time, and he went all the way to California. So he got as far away from us as he could. Very rarely did my girls see him the first 2 years, and then after that, they didn't ever see him, and they're now grown women. So I was devastated. My self-esteem was shot to pieces. I didn't feel good about myself. I had planned to be married forever, and when he said, "I don't want you anymore," and left, with the responsibility that I had to take care of these two babies that depended on me, it was difficult. I had to go to work 2 jobs just to put food on the table. I was very prideful at the time, to the degree of I didn't like asking for help. I felt like I put myself in this situation, so I needed to take care of it myself. And after about 9 months after he left and we were divorced, I met someone at one of my jobs. It was a health club that I was working at. I met a guy who I fell madly in love with him, and he fell in love with me. We had this I thought, long-term, we were going to be married forever, put our teeth in the same jar relationship. But 9 months later, when I found that I was pregnant, I wasn't happy about it, of course, because I was already struggling as a single mother with 2 girls. I also was embarrassed. I wasn't married to him, and I was very ashamed, to be honest, to tell people that here I was pregnant when they knew I was struggling. And now I'm going to have another child. But when I told my boyfriend, expecting him to say, "Let's get married and have our child together," because I believed he really loved me, he said, "I don't think this is a good time for us. And I think what you need to do is call the abortion clinic in North Carolina, in Charlotte, as a matter of fact, and let's talk to them, because I think that's the best decision that we need to make." And so I ended up calling them and talking with the woman there. Gosh, I don't know, a couple hours, telling her my story of how I was struggling as a single mom. And then she ended up telling me I'd be really selfish as a mom to have another child when I could barely take care of the one that I had. So the 2 people, the woman at the abortion clinic and then my boyfriend, who I thought loved me and I trusted, were telling me the same thing, that this was the best choice for you. And on a Saturday morning, I drove myself to the abortion clinic in Charlotte, North Carolina, with my hands on my stomach, telling this child, this blob of tissue, as she told me on the phone, that it was nothing more than getting a tumor removed, that I was really sorry for what I was about to do, and that I hope you could forgive me, but my life is a mess, and I'm making the right choice for you and for your sisters. So that was the choice that I made, and it was the greatest regret of my life to this day.
Wow. And so now you use that as fuel and passion, and you speak and share your story to people all over the nation, right?
I do. And here's what's interesting, you guys, is that I couldn't even look in the mirror for over a decade after I chose abortion and say to myself in my own bathroom and get the words out. When I was at the abortion clinic and the woman said to me, leave here and never think of this again, that was one of the many lies that she fed me because I thought of nothing else. And so I would get in the bathroom and be thinking about it. Something would make me think about it. It didn't take much. And I couldn't get the words out and of you had an abortion. I just couldn't even say it. So let alone tell anybody. So for over 10 years, I suffered in silence. And finally, it's such a longer story than we have time to tell. But finally, after a decade, I met a woman at my church who was the director of the Pregnancy Resource Center in the town I lived. And she kept, for 3 years, inviting me to be a volunteer. She didn't know anything about my story. I hadn't told her. But she said, you'd be great with the girls there. You're always very good with the girls in our church in the youth group. I think you'd be a great asset for us. And I'd put her off and put her off. Her name was Mary. And after 3 years of feeling sick and tired, and I had a come to Jesus meeting one night because the woman asked me to pray for her at church. And she hadn't told anyone that she had had an abortion over 30 years ago. And she said, I need help because I don't know what to do. And I don't feel like God's forgiven me. Can you pray for me? And I did. And I watched God transform her before my eyes. And she felt this weight lifted off. And I got angry. I was happy for her, but I was angry because I was still carrying it. And I felt like God brought women to me for prayer because they had an abortion in their past just to torture me. That was my mentality. And so I went home that night and had a come to Jesus meeting and just was yelling at him and on the ground for a couple hours. And finally I said, when are you going to heal me? Like I've seen you heal her. And I felt the Holy Spirit say, I've been trying. And then I thought about Mary. Mary was the first face I saw in my mind. And I called her the next day and said, I'm ready to volunteer. And within 6 months, she got me in post-abortion counseling because I finally had the courage to tell her that I'd had an abortion. And she said, yeah, I know. I've been waiting for you to tell me.
Wow. Oh, that is amazing.
So that's when everything changed. I started working and volunteering at the local Pregnancy Resource Center. Then I ended up asking to be a staff member by the board. I ended up becoming the CEO of that actual center 7 years later. And I've been now in pro-life work for 23 years.
Wow, that is so incredible. Yeah, for sure. So looking back, and I've asked a few other of our guests this, but what do you feel like you maybe needed in your life when you made your abortion decision? Do you think it could have been maybe it was a supportive friend or a church to turn to, or maybe knowing what a pregnancy center was? I know a lot of people just didn't know back then, what they are now, or but have you ever thought about, man, if I would have had that, I might not have made that decision?
All of the above, to be honest. I think that had a mobile ultrasound unit been parked outside of that abortion clinic and they offered me a free ultrasound, it would have changed everything. I knew in my mind what the outcome of a pregnancy was. I'm already a mother to two, remember, when I had an abortion. But it was easy to convince me because the two people that wanted me to go through with it were saying all the things that they knew would convince me to do it. But I think what would have changed everything is had I confided in someone that said, you don't have to do this. I'll help you. I'll do whatever I have to. Had I known about pregnancy resource centers, which I did not at the time, I think it would have made all the difference. I loved my children. I used to get in fights and arguments with friends of mine that were having abortion as birth control. And then here I was pregnant and going to do the same thing that some of my friends had already done. That really made me angry at them because what that helped me do was empathize with the situation they were in. And I didn't understand their mentality until I was in that place of feeling hopeless and helpless and who's going to help me. And so there are so many things that could have changed my mind. I truly believe that. But the bottom line is God knew that I was going to go through with it. And he has taken what the enemy meant for evil and turned it into good. And I am convinced in my 23-year career, I have spoken through social media, through live streams, of one video out there of my testimony that I think has 13 or 14 million views, I can tell you that thousands of babies I know live today because my baby died.
Wow. That is a powerful statement, and it's so true. There is something about us being bold and sharing our story, and especially stories of our past abortions and how it is a trauma, and the lie that Planned Parenthood puts out there. Like, even the fact that they're like, think of this no more. We had another guest that we just interviewed, and she said that they said the exact same thing to her. When you said that, I was like, that's weird. Like,
you guys, I've interviewed, I wrote a book called They Lied to Us. And in the book, I could have, with all the women I interviewed throughout my research before I wrote the book, I can't tell you how many said the same thing. They literally teach them the same terminology throughout the country. So they're very consistent with what they say. A blob of tissue, a clump of cells, like removing a tumor, you will be fine. You can go out tonight. I mean, I didn't get into my whole experience that day because of time, but my experience that day, when I look back, was traumatizing. Yeah. And whenever she was so kind to me on the phone, the woman at the abortion clinic, to secure my appointment and to make sure she had me where she needed me, when I went and met her that day and gave her my $350 cash, that's how much my baby's life was worth. She looked at me as soon as she took the money, after being so kind and compassionate, and said, if you change your mind, you don't get your money back. So when you're on the table, if you change your mind, don't come in here and ask me for your money back. We don't give refunds. So they use the same terminology, and then they treat you in there like you're just it's like a slaughterhouse, literally. It's a slaughterhouse. And they want you in and out, in and out, in and out. And so it's the truth. So with the women I interviewed for my book, they had the same similar stories. With the women that I've gone through my Reassemble After Abortion Recovery retreat, same stories. And these women have never met each other. They share their stories, and they're so shocked by how similar their stories are and the lies they were told. And that's why my book's called They Lied to Us.
What if one box could save 2 lives? We've created Love Boxes as an invitational gift for single and pregnant women to welcome them in to be a part of a local Embrace Grace support group, helping them to be brave in their choice for life. We ship Love Boxes for free to pregnancy centers all over the nation, so that when they have a single and pregnant client walk in their doors, a Love Box can be placed in their hands right then and there. These Love Boxes not only encourage a decision for life, but also invite single and pregnant women to join an Embrace Grace support group at a local church, inviting them to be a part of a spiritual family, that they will walk this season with them, and if they'll allow it, their entire lives. To learn more about our Love Box initiative, visit www.embracegrace.com.
Well, so tell us now, what are you doing? What is Save the Storks? What do they do? I know Save the Storks kind of does a lot of different stuff, which is kind of cool, but there is the main thing, which is the buses. And you mentioned that a little bit earlier, that would have maybe changed your story if you had seen one of these buses. Why don't you tell our listeners, what do you mean by a bus?
Well, I've been, as I said, in pro-life ministry for 23 years. For 20 of those years, I was the CEO of 3 different centers in North Carolina and here in the Nashville, Tennessee area. 3 years ago, I went to work for Save the Storks. And the reason that it was such a good fit for me was because I knew I could bring all that experience to Storks from being a PRC executive director and a CEO, because that's who we partner with. Save the Storks partners with pregnancy resource centers across the country, and we partner with them to help them launch their mobile medical units. And these mobile medical units are Mercedes Sprinter buses that are state-of-the-art equipment is in them with ultrasound. Some of them do STI testing. They have a sonographer on board, and they park these buses, Stork buses is what we call them, in front of abortion clinics, in front of college campuses, places where they know in their communities where the biggest need is. But when a girl's walking into an abortion clinic without any judgment or condemnation, that is not how Save the Storks works. With love and compassion, they offer these women another option. Hey, we'll give you a free ultrasound if you'd like to come on our Stork bus, no obligation to you. Then you'll have the pictures to take with you to your appointment. People need to understand that the price of an abortion depends on the gestation of the pregnancy. So when a girl walks into an abortion clinic, they automatically say, well, you're going to have to pay us X amount of money for your ultrasound because we need to know how far along you are. That determines what kind of procedure, the cost. So we offer them a free ultrasound, or our PRC affiliates do, and they come onto the bus for that free ultrasound. But when they see their baby, then they're wondering, wait a minute, that doesn't look like a blob of tissue like they told me on the phone. Or is that a heartbeat? Are those arms and legs? That looks like a body. Yeah, that's your baby. We don't hide the ultrasound on the Stork buses. And there's surround sound throughout the bus of the baby's heartbeat the entire time they're in the appointment. So 4 out of 5 times, these women are choosing life that are about to walk into an abortion clinic. And it's not manipulation. It's truth. We're sharing the truth because we believe that women aren't stupid. We believe that women just need to be educated on the issue of abortion before they walk into an abortion clinic. And the one who does walk into an abortion clinic, you guys, when she feels love and compassion on that bus from that PRC staff, where do you think she's going to go later on when she's struggling with after abortion trauma? She's going to remember them because they didn't judge her. They didn't condemn her. They loved her because they're going to tell her as she gets off that bus. If she still says, I'm walking into that clinic to have an abortion, thank you for the free ultrasound. Well, here's our number. Because when you need us, we're going to be there for you. You give us a call. So that's what is happening on these Stork buses, among so many other things. So I am so proud to be working with Save the Storks. And thousands of babies have been saved since the inception. And I just want to reiterate again, it is not using manipulation. It is using the truth, and we're giving them education. Let's educate women because they're smart enough to make a decision on their own. What bothers me about the abortion industry is they want to keep lying and lying and lying because they know if they know the truth, their multi-billion-dollar business could be out of business.
That's so true. And these buses, they really are so nice. Like,
they're beautiful.
I know we don't have a picture to show, but it's not like, come into my creepy van, or whatever. It is amazing.
Yes.
I mean, they are beautiful.
And they're light and bright.
Yeah, all your
They
wearing
are.
is
And
so
you know
great.
what, girls? What's great about the Stork buses, I've had a few people, not many, but there have been a couple people that say, why do they have to be Mercedes Sprinters? Why do they have to be so nice? Couldn't you spend money on other things? I'm like, we're representing Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Why would we not give them our best? Besides the fact that the Mercedes Sprinter is a great product that's going to last and not give these PRCs trouble down the road. So I say, why wouldn't we give them the best? And remember, we're competing with Planned Parenthood, with abortion clinics who take a lot of money from our government and have these big, beautiful buildings with very nice interiors. So that's our competition.
Well,
So
how many women would
when people
step
say
into
that to
like
me, I'm
a
like,
1980
simmer down,
Dodge?
simmer down. Have you met my Jesus? He gives the best.
It's so true. Where are the kind of places that the Stork buses go? So the pregnancy centers are who run them. And then what are the kind of locations that they go to park and find these women? Because I love it's like taking the pregnancy center outside the walls and going to where these girls are and finding them.
It is. Well, it depends. It depends on the center and what community they're in. We don't dictate where they put them. They decide. They know where the need is. So, of course, the majority are going to be parked in front of abortion clinics on their kill days, as we call them, because there are specific days during the week when abortion clinics are doing abortions, and it's easy to find that out. So those are the days you're going to probably see them parked in front of those abortion clinics. But school campuses, I know of one center who told me before that they park theirs in the Walmart parking lot.
Wow.
The Walmart
Genius.
manager's pro-life and said, hey, you can park it there if people want your help. They've got the buses. It says on there free ultrasound, free pregnancy test. And so women can see that and feel free to go on them. And they're as you said, they're beautiful buses. They're not intimidating. It's not like you think they're going to grab you and take off. And as some people call vans, kidnapping vans. They're beautiful, state of the art. The ladies are usually outside, and the men. Sometimes some of them have men who are there outside of the bus to talk with the husband or the boyfriend who walks up, so they don't feel like who's here for me. So it really depends on them. They get to decide because remember, we're partnering with them to help them launch their buses. They're the ones who are operating them.
Yeah, that Walmart parking lot is genius. We have had so many Embrace Grace moms say that they found out they're pregnant in a Walmart. Sometimes, because usually it's because they don't want to take the pregnancy wrapper home. So they'll go buy the test and then go in the bathroom to take the test so they can just throw it away there. And there's no evidence, and they're at their house for the parents to see or anything like that. But I mean, tons. We've even made comments and jokes around Embrace Grace, like we should put Embrace Grace signs in the Walmart bathrooms.
In the bathrooms, man.
Yeah. So there's something to that.
That's a great idea, because even like, think about this. I've had many girls tell me they took 10 pregnancy tests from the Dollar General or the Dollar Store for $1, but they still want to know, because they still are like, well, these are from the dollar store. They tried at work. What they don't realize is it's the same chemicals in those that they use on the Stork bus, but they need somebody else to confirm.
Yeah,
so a lot of them do that as well. They'll take 10 or 15 tests and show up on a Stork bus. They see free ultrasound and free pregnancy tests, and they're like, yep, that looks like a doctor's office. They'll tell me if I'm really pregnant.
Right. I know
30 tests can't be right.
No, I remember one Embrace Grace girl said she actually Googled, can 13 pregnancy tests be wrong?
I remember doing the same thing. I remember the same thing. And then you'd be like, well, now it looks like it's very pale, that second line. But after a couple hours, it may be. But if there's 2 lines, girlfriend, you're pregnant. If you don't believe me, about 8 or 9 months, I'll let you know.
Right.
I'll prove me right.
Yeah. So, okay, with Save the Storks, how can people get connected to what you guys are doing? What all is your information out there where they can follow you and find you?
Okay, it's easy. SaveTheStorks.com. And if anyone listening would want to get in touch with me personally, you can write me at Victoria@SaveTheStorks.com. If you are someone who's had an abortion, if you're someone who just has some questions about whatever that we're talking about today, or even Save the Storks, you can feel free to email me, Victoria@SaveTheStorks.com, or go to SaveTheStorks.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Victoria, for sharing with us your story and what all you guys are doing at Storks. We're always cheering you on and praying for you guys, and so thankful for all the hard work that you do in the movement.
Thank you guys for having me anytime. It's always a privilege when I'm invited to speak about this issue. And I just thank you guys so much, really.
That woman is a powerhouse. Like, there is authority in her voice. And I love, again, another story of a woman who is using what was meant to destroy her to change the world.
Yeah, this past season, we have listened to a lot of abortion healing stories.
Yeah.
And one thing that I have noticed about the women that we have interviewed, they are very strong women, and they have taken their passion as fuel to go and try to be the change that they want to see in the world and to tell her story. And I loved how she said that one of her videos has 13 million views, and she believes that her story has actually saved lives, which that's so awesome.
I love it so much. You end up being strong when you're an overcomer. Like, to overcome something, you have to choose to overcome it. It doesn't just happen. You have to choose to be strong. So, of course, they're strong and they're brave because they've chosen to overcome these crazy circumstances in their lives.
Yeah, and I love how she was brave enough to try an abortion healing group, and how even that pregnancy center director was persistent in pursuing her and loving on her and helping her in her healing. So cool. So if you would like more ideas on how you can get involved in the pro-life movement, you can grab my new book, Help Her Be Brave, Discover Your Place in the Pro-Life Movement, on Amazon or EmbraceGrace.com. Also, listen to some of our past episodes. We've had a lot of episodes up to date, and we're releasing these every week and giving you a lot of great ideas and content to be able to hopefully stir your heart to act from belief to action. And that's what we're trying to do with this show. Don't forget to subscribe via iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Also share with all your friends this show. The more people we can get listening, the more people we can get to just actually doing something in this movement, and to really all of us working together can help make abortion unthinkable. And so that's what we're trying to do here. So please share with all your friends, share your favorite podcast episode, and tell them to listen to the rest. Thank you guys for listening this week. We'll see you next.